There is a heaviness hanging over Berea today that every true Cleveland Browns fan can feel in their bones. It's that silence that speaks louder than any stadium roar, a realization that the identity of our defense is shifting in a way we never wanted to see. We talk about the Dawg Pound being tough, but this news tests even the strongest faithful right now. Before we dive into what this means for the future of our Super Bowl window, do me a favor. If you're a real fan, hit that like button and subscribe. We need the family together. The official word finally came down and it hits like a ton of bricks. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah has been placed on the reserve physically unable to perform list for the second straight year. This means the entire 2026 season is gone. When you hear those words, it's not just a roster move. It's a gut punch to everyone who watched JOK fly across the field with that unique speed and instinct that made him a Pro Bowler. He hasn't played since that 2024 game against the Ravens where that neck injury changed everything. We all hoped the time off would be enough, that the recovery would work its magic, but the reality is setting in. This isn't just about missing a few games anymore. It's about a career that was on a Hall of Fame trajectory suddenly hitting a wall. And honestly, it feels like a piece of the Browns' soul is being sidelined again. You look at the linebacker room and you see the talent, but you don't see that Ghanaian flair, that specific energy JOK brought to every single snap. Now this is where it gets interesting, because this isn't just a physical battle anymore. It's a mental and emotional journey that Jeremiah is sharing with us in real time. We've seen him at the facility, we've seen him being that leader in the room, even without the pads on, but the gap between being a mentor and being a playmaker is growing wider. The Browns are trying to stay contenders in a brutal AFC North, and losing a weapon like him for another full year creates a void that numbers alone can't explain. It's about the culture he helped build. But here's the thing that really stings. For months, there was this quiet optimism, this idea that maybe, just maybe 2026 would be the year of the great return. We saw the Instagram clips, the soft tissue work, the needling, the endless sessions with specialists. He was doing everything right, but the neck is a different beast entirely. It's not an ACL or a shoulder where you just grind through the pain. This is life-altering stuff. And when the team makes a move like this so early, it tells you that the medical certainty just isn't there. It creates a concern that ripples through the entire organization, from Andrew Berry down to the fans and the bleachers. When we look at the roster impact, the implications are massive. You can't just replace a player who records 300-plus stops and forces fumbles with his eyes closed. But this goes deeper than the depth chart. It's about the emotional tax on the locker room. These guys are brothers, and seeing one of their most vibrant leaders unable to cross that white line for 2.5 years takes a toll. There is an uncertainty now that lingers over the defensive planning. Jim Schwartz's system thrives on having that hybrid, versatile player who can erase tight ends and chase down mobile quarterbacks. Without JOK, that chess piece is missing. The pressure on the rest of the defensive unit to fill that void is immense. We're talking about a Super Bowl window that is open right now, and every piece of the puzzle matters. Some are saying this might be the moment the front office has to look at the long-term reality of the position. If JOK isn't coming back in 2026, can we really expect a 27-year-old to jump back in after 3 years of no contact in 2027? It feels like the team is walking a tightrope between loyalty to a franchise icon and the cold reality of NFL business. This block of time, this second year on the PUP list, feels like a finality we weren't prepared for. I'm thinking about the fans who wear the number 0 jersey with pride. We've been waiting for that comeback story, the one where he runs out of the tunnel and the Dawg Pound goes absolutely wild. But now, that scenario feels more like a dream than a plan. The risks of returning to the field with a neck injury of this magnitude are being discussed behind closed doors with the highest level of seriousness. Jeremiah himself admitted he's talking to physicians about the true cost of continuing. This isn't just about football anymore. It's about his quality of life. And as a fan, that's where the conflict lies. You want him out there because he makes the Browns better, but you also want him to be okay for the next 50 years of his life. The tension between the desire to win and the human element of this game is at an all-time high right now. But this is where things change, and we have to talk about what this really means for the legacy of JOK in Cleveland. That recent Instagram post he shared, the one about not chasing what God is removing and trusting the exit that feels like a goodbye. It's not official, it's not a retirement speech, but it's a shift in tone that we haven't seen from him before. He was the guy pushing back against the reports that his return was doubtful. He was the one asking to be caught up on the news when people counted him out. But now it feels like he's finding peace with a different path. And that's the biggest question facing the Browns right now. How do you move forward while keeping that door cracked open just enough? Andrew Berry said at the Combine that there isn't a hard deadline, but placing him on the PUP list for 2026 is a definitive statement. It means the team is planning a future where Jeremiah might not be the focal point of the defense. because this could become something much bigger than just one player being out. It could signal a total philosophy shift in how the Browns build their linebacker room. For years, we relied on his specific brand of speed. Now we might have to transition to a more traditional, heavy-hitting approach. The emotional escalation here is real because we are watching a star fade out not because of talent, but because of a freak moment on a football field. It's heartbreaking, and it forces us to look at the Super Bowl pressure differently. Can this defense remain elite without its most dynamic playmaker? The stats say he was a game changer, but the eyes say he was the heartbeat. When the heartbeat is on the sidelines for a second consecutive season, you start to wonder if the rhythm of the entire team changes. We are entering a phase of the season where chemistry is everything, and the shadow of what could have been with a healthy Dawg is going to loom large. Every time a linebacker misses a tackle or gets beat in coverage, the fans are going to think about number 0. That is a heavy burden for the current roster to carry, and it's a narrative that isn't going away anytime soon. I'm going to be honest with you guys, this actually worries me more than a typical injury update. I've followed Dawg since his Notre Dame days, and seeing his journey from a second-round steal to a defensive cornerstone was one of the highlights of the last few years for this franchise. This move to the PUP list feels like the team is preparing us for the inevitable. I really like how the organization is handling this with grace, giving him the space to make this decision without a hard deadline. But it stings. I think fans should pay attention to his move into the Harvard Kennedy School. Pursuing a master's degree in public policy, while he's still technically on the roster, tells me he's already building the bridge to his next chapter. And while I'm incredibly proud of him for that, the fan in me is devastated. We wanted him to be the next great Browns legend on the field. This could be an incredible story of a man finding his purpose beyond the gridiron, or it could become a massive problem for a team that hasn't found a way to replace his production. I'm leaning toward a very cautious optimism regarding the team's depth, but there is no replacing his soul. It's like when a piece of the puzzle goes missing. You can try to fill it with something else, but the picture never looks quite right. It feels like we are watching the end of an era before it even truly peaked. I want to believe there's a miracle coming in 2027, but the language being used by everyone involved suggests otherwise. Trust the exit are powerful words. They aren't the words of a man fighting to get back on the field. They are the words of a man who has fought the battle and is looking at the sunset. It's a level of maturity that we have to respect, even if it hurts the team's chances on Sundays. We have to ask ourselves if we are ready to say goodbye to one of the most exciting players to ever wear the brown and orange. It's a tough pill to swallow, especially when the window to win is right now. The future of the Cleveland Browns defense is now officially in a state of transition, whether we want to admit it or not. The loss of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah for the 2026 season isn't just a line on a transaction report. It's a defining moment for this era of Browns football. We are left with so many questions and very few answers. Will the front office make a desperation move to find a similar talent? Or will we have to watch as the identity of this unit changes completely? The story isn't over, but the chapters are getting shorter. There's a sense of unresolved tension in Berea, a feeling that something bigger is still coming, perhaps an official announcement that none of us are ready to hear. But for now, we wait and we hope for the best for a man who gave everything to this city. This is where the real fans stand up. I want to hear from you in the comments. What is your favorite Dawg memory? Do you think the Browns can still reach the Super Bowl without him, or was he the missing piece we couldn't afford to lose? Let's talk about it down there, and don't forget to like and subscribe to stay tuned as this situation develops. We're in this together, Browns fans. Through the highs and the lows, we stay faithful. This is a tough day, but the Dawg Pound never backs down. What do you think happens next?